Yes, welcome to today's version of In the Tank Live with Aaron Harrison and Keith Deo. And we're coming to you live, and this is your halftime report. This is like your locker room. You've been through the first part of your day. You got a call timeout. You did that mid-morning, and now the whistle has blown. This is halftime. Sit, relax, feed your soul, feed your body, and listen to a message that we have to bring to you today. And the message today is all about you. Why it's necessary for you to invest in yourself to make it through the rest of the year. And the world deserves to see the best version of you on a daily basis. And let's find a few ways where you can do that investment and create a habit out of it, create a lifestyle. So it isn't just about one day. It's about every day, and it's about how you show up in other people's lives. Who's important to you? What are the qualities that you love the most about you? What are the qualities other people notice most about you? There's so many questions that we're going to ask you today, and there's so many ways that we can grow, and we can grow as fast as we want in any area we want. That's the best part. We're not trapped. We're not forced into one little spot, and we're not trying to force a square peg into a round hole. That's not what this is about. This is about you. And I'm going to bring Aaron Harrison to the broadcast because we've been a while now, and we believe we have the formula for success with you today. As he's there,
Yes, what's going on?
I love it, Aaron. It's all about you. Today is your day, and we're in the locker room. This is the halftime report right here.
Oh my goodness, I love the locker room. I tell you what, man, when we broke from the first half and we went in the locker room, obviously licking our wounds and kind of feeling banged up and start thinking of the things that we were challenged with and how we're going to go back out. I tell you what, that was probably the most important transition that I've learned to really adopt throughout life. And so here we are, halftime, noon, break of your day. And I love the subject. Today is your day. I remember the coach saying it. Today is your day, Aaron. We're giving you the ball all game long.
That's right. And so let's reflect on, there you go, get that coffee. Let's reflect on what we've done really well to this point. And one of the things that we're going to start doing on these live broadcasts is we're going to make it a goal live during the live portion to see 10 comments on the thread. 10 things that either is an answer to a question we've asked you, or it's a comment of something that's heavy on your heart while you're watching. What we want to encourage you to do is be an active viewer. Active viewership improves everyone's experience. Because remember, Aaron and I are here using our unique ability to translate. And as much as it fills our buckets to do that, it's going to allow you to understand a message that's been out there. It's been in front of you. It's been in front of you multiple times, trust me. Right? But you just haven't quite heard it in a way where it connects to your psyche, right? It connects to your subconscious. So our goal is during our live broadcast to get 10 comments there of something that's heavy on your heart or an answer to a question we've asked. And so what we're asking right now, what we're going to start with is, what have you done best? What have you done really, really well in the first part of your day today? This version of you, what has this version of you brought to your current environment? Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, what do you feel that's been? And so with the viewership we have on right now, we encourage you, we give you permission to leave a comment, and then we can feed off of that comment, and you can feel like you have a more significant role in the conversation, in the translation that we're bringing to you. So Aaron, when you look at the first part of your day, which for most people, you've already done what most people do in a week, and you've put that into the first 7 hours of your day so far. What have you done really, really well?
Listen. And it doesn't always come from your ears, right? You listen within yourself. So for me, I've been doing a very good job of understanding the importance of listening. And it comes through experiences, it comes through conversations, it comes through just what you see, right? And listening and being present is something that I've been very good at lately, and it is really helping me to grow fast, grow very fast, and really understand and have more appreciation for sure.
Yeah, I believe, Aaron, that I can definitely agree with you, because your ability to become an active listener, even over the past 30 days, the transition I've seen that you've gone through, and the emphasis that you've put on active listening has taught me a lot, because I didn't understand completely what that was. I've always been a decent listener, but the conversation that goes on in my head while I'm listening to somebody else is often a distraction to the ultimate outcome of a conversation if I was to be a more active listener. And what we mean by active listener is that's not running around while somebody talks. That's not doing things while somebody talks, right? It's being completely present and understanding and feeling what the other person is feeling when they're feeling it, and putting yourself in their shoes and understanding where they're really coming from, so that we can give a more appropriate response. And oftentimes as males, we fall into the trap, especially if we're talking to a female. And that trap is the solution trap. The reason why is because we weren't doing a good job prior to that conversation and controlling our own levels of dopamine. And when our dopamine levels dip, we got to find the easiest way to replace it. That is solving problems or viewing a TV or a video. And so if we are more aware as a male on where our levels of dopamine are before we go into a conversation, so we're better prepared, it's like knowing it's going to rain and having an umbrella ready for when it does.
Ready to go. Right.
Yes. And so for females, their number one brain chemical that they're looking to fulfill and keep the tank, keep it high, keep their fuel tanks more full is serotonin. And they create higher levels of serotonin by expressing their feelings and caring for others. So make sure your tanks are full before you go into a conversation, so that you can provide the best version of you, the best ear so that the outcome is desirable for both and it serves both parties. So Aaron, absolutely. I love the fact that you brought that up, because that's something that you taught me. And the reason why I'm not speaking as fast as we may normally speak is because I really want to take that in. I really want to feel that. That's a gift. I know it's a gift that you shared with me. It's something that I'm working on. And to become a master in something, you've got to work on it. You've got to exercise it. And so I love that you said that. For the first half of your day, you've been an incredible listener. And so for the first half of my day, what I've done is I've become a great student. And I've been looking for lessons all morning long. Because when you're in a position like I have created for myself, you often are pushed into the role of trainer, of leader,
coach, right?
Of coach, right? And it can be a trap, because that feels good. The coach role feels good for me, but I have to remember that that's not all I am. And so I'm looking for lessons, and I'm looking to learn from people that I respect and I care about first, and then I will look further. But I've been a really good student so far today, and looking for the lesson that I can take and then share with somebody else. And so Aaron, we've got some comments here. Do you see the comments popping up?
I do. We got Pray and Watch from Joanne. The War Room movie, to make our faith stronger. God is love and helps us step every absolutely. Helps us every step of the way. Yeah, I love that movie. And one of the things is listening to what's going on inside. And really, for me, it's been my grounding and foundation in spirituality and understanding that there's something so much bigger than me. And as much as we put ourselves in the middle of everything, we have to remove ourselves from the middle of everything. We can't be the bullseye, right? Yeah. We have to be on the outskirts and really be focused on what's bigger than us. And so, yeah, the Lord is in the middle of everything I do. And so thank you for sharing that, Joanne. And we got Parker Gregory.
Britt. Well, that's Britt. That's Britt. And you know what, Britt? You make a great point. And I love the fact you asked that question, because if you understand active listening, and I know the things that have been presented to you in your life have always been presented to you, because we have to remember that too much is given, much is required. And so you're being prepared to go through a storm. You're one of the strongest athletes that we've ever been around. And Aaron, you remember Britt. And so you bring up a great point. that how do we overcome not being heard? And I don't know if it's something that we overcome, but it is our ability to wear multiple hats, or in the conversation you're having with someone, in order for them to hear you, we also have to understand what language they speak. And your ability, Britt, to in all of your experiences has always been to be like a chameleon. It doesn't matter. You could be dropped in a jungle and you would find a way to fit in. You could be dropped in the middle of a city, and you have before, and find a way to fit in. You're a great teammate, right? And you've always found a way to be heard, but you might not feel like it's getting depth. So you might find that you're communicating with people, and that happens to me a lot, but it's the art of connection that really matters. And so if you feel like you're not being heard in a situation, and I'm so glad you brought this up, then there hasn't been a pre-established trust to the level that they're willing to hear your message deeper so that it creates an impact. So if you feel like your message or your voice is not being heard, work on developing trust. And the number one way to develop trust is to become more vulnerable. Share more. And if you share more, you'll be relatable on some level to that person. So then they realize what you're saying has an increased value. Does that help? What do you think on that?
Yeah. So one of the things is really becoming a great asker, because a lot of times we don't ask, right? Because either we're too attached to the outcome, right? So we're afraid. Yep, we're too proud. We're too attached, or we don't feel that the other person, right? The other person feels like having that back and forth, right? And so it's timing. So being a better asker has helped me, okay, to deliver what they need to hear and what they want to hear. See, there's a difference between, need and want, okay? And what I actually just explained to a young lady who says, well, why aren't more people successful with getting what they want?
Oh, wow.
And I said, because the need and the want aren't equal.
Wow.
And what I mean by that is that, when you need something and you want what you need, and it's on an equal playing field, you're going to do everything in your power to make it work, and it will work. Same thing goes in conversation. If you want to help someone, right, you need to know, right, there's the need, you need to know what they want, and you want to know, and you need to know what's important to them. And the only way you're going to come across that is, like Keith said, becoming vulnerable, letting yourself detach from the outcome, right, the expectations, let that go, and just focus on them. Focus on their needs and their wants. And I guarantee you that the next time they need something from you, or they want something and you can provide it, when you speak, they will listen. Trust me. But that's how that works. The want and the need has to be equal. If the need, okay, isn't as equal as the want, all right, it comes out of desperation. And so now there's closed ears, right? That's when the scarcity comes upon, right, us, and we start becoming more defensive. And so we're closed to that fact. And when the want, okay, is more and the need is less, it becomes just a dream, because the work requires need, right? And the want obviously has to be on the same playing field. And so that's the difference between the two. And if you want to be heard more, you have to listen for what people want to hear, so that you can translate the message from your heart and what you feel, your values, your standards, and the things you can provide as value in their terminology.
I love it. And Aaron, so what we've done is we've created this conversation that we're now a part of. And that's really our goal, is to fan the flames of people's desires and dreams.
Thank you for bringing that out of us.
Thank you. Because there's a lesson in everything, right? And and that's part of this active listening piece. Is if we always show up, not always as what our badge may say, right? We're only that person, but we realize that this is a team sport. Life is a team sport. So that's why athletes are very good at it, right? I mean, we live it, we breathe it. It never ends. And so when Britt makes a point like that, and she is creating an awareness around it, it still has relevance to our topic today. Today is your day. What are you going to take from today in order to be the best version of you the rest of the day and then tomorrow? And so now that we've created this awareness, Aaron, let's share with them what we know to be true when it comes to connection versus communication, and how we can be more high touch versus high tech. And when we're in such a high tech world and people are we can reach people, everyone's at our fingertips now, right? And so we often take advantage of that. And what's lost in translation is feeling and impact. So we then get caught in this high-tech world and less high touch, and our empathy doesn't come through. And a lot of things can be taken out of context based on your last known belief or connection with that person, not based on who you've become. So they can either sound really fake in the new conversation, especially if you've grown a bit, even if it's been 24 to 48 hours, sometimes it's been weeks or months, or they can also hurt us because what you're saying doesn't relate you might not be saying exactly what they were looking for. And so they got caught up in the expectation instead of appreciation. And the fact that you're replying to them, it means that they're extremely important because you made a choice to reply. So when things get lost like that and jumbled around, we have to remind ourselves that, look, let's fix this now, because obviously something got lost in translation. And let's use words, let's use empathy, let's use voice. Because remember, what we type is still only a very small portion of communication. It's 7% what we type. And we have to remember that it's over 55% is our physiology when we say it. The words themselves are only 7%. The words serve as communication. Our physiology and everything else that goes with it, right? The tonality, that is so much more important. So if you're not satisfied with simple communication and you want to increase your value in a situation, you really want to be heard and felt, and you want to create a long meaning connection, and you believe what you're saying is valuable, use your voice. Right? Use your physiology. Voice message is great. Video message is even better.
Eye contact.
If they're not picking up a phone, right? There's other ways that we can leverage technology and still be high touch. But number one, pick up a phone and leave a message, because that's how you're going to be heard. And so, Aaron, let's share with them what we know. Now that we have this awareness, let's share with them a tool that we know works like Jedi magic, right? It's amazing. And if your intent is pure, it's okay to use. Let's use that. Let's go over the communication hierarchy and what it's meant to you since the time you've been able to use it.
Absolutely. So a quick shout out to Rod Harrison, who has taught us so much about communication. And he teaches part of his program, the communication hierarchy. And what this really means is that with everything that is good, and everything that is valued, it has a step-by-step process, right? Just like in a game, right? So familiar football, the play gets called, right? The execution takes steps from the cadence to the snap to the movement, right? And to the end of the whistle. And so same thing with communication. And what he taught us, and this is something that I wanted to share because, Keith, confidence in what you value is so important. And so if you're talking about something that you truly value, right? Like something you love dearly, like with my children, if I'm talking about my children or if I'm talking about my wife, I talk with such certainty because
like
I'm speaking
belief
from
and faith.
The belief, the heart, I'm speaking very deeply. And so you always want to start off with certainty. And that certainty is built upon confidence about what you're speaking about, right? So if you really are intentional about helping someone or wanting to know more about where they are in their life or just being a listening ear, then that level of certainty has to be confidence in believing that you care. Okay, so that's where that certainty piece comes in. So that's step one, is coming with approaching communication with a level of certainty. Okay, what you know is true is your beliefs. All right, the next one is significance. Now, apart from yourself, and like I said before, you can't be the bullseye. you have to show a level of value you have for the individual. And so there's something about the individual you're talking about that you value. Bring that up. You know, bring that up, because that's the connection. That's the piece of why you are excited about speaking with them, or you're excited about being with them, or you're excited about sharing a special memory with them, right? Is the significance piece of who they are, why they are, and you know how happy you are to be with them. So that significance level, it has to be, again, pure from your heart and coming from a place of something that you value about them. Okay, and really where they play in the role of being themselves, right? So you have certainty and then you have significance. The next part is the teamwork, and until you go over the certainty and you significantly give that significance, teamwork is not going to work. Okay, so that's when the team joins, is right when you're coming with a level of belief and certainty, you're sharing with the individual, and they know that they're significant and that they're important and that their opinion matters and that their values matter and all that good stuff. Now you can talk about team, and you can talk about problem solving. You can talk about executing an event or executing a play, right? If the quarterback knows that he has a level of certainty and significance, and the quarterback hands off to the running back who also has a level of certainty and significance, and he runs through the line whose lineman has a level of certainty and significance in their role, the play will execute to perfection and their score will happen. Okay? However, if the latter happens, the play will be blown up. The snap will be horrible. The handoff will probably fumble. Something will happen, right? Because there's a break in the action. All right? Then, right, we can get into strategizing. Okay, now strategy is really the planning of an action. That's all it is, right? So if you're problem solving, if you're creating memories, whatever you're doing with that individual, you can work together to put together a plan to make it extremely special. Okay, however, you can't skip from certainty saying, I know exactly what to do and how we're going to do this, and we skip all the way from, you know, from certainty to teamwork and strategy. The person's going to be like, well, where do I play in this? Doesn't sound like I'm involved at all, right? So now the communication is cut off, and the person's thinking in their mind, well, I don't want to be part of this conversation anymore because I don't feel important. I don't feel like I'm valued. I don't feel that I have a role in this whole event that you have planned out, and now there's a break, right? There's a disconnect. And you will always ultimately end in results if you follow those steps: certainty, significance, teamwork, strategy, and then results, right? So results are just that, a result of how well you followed the first 4 steps. And this was so profound for both Keith and I, you know, as we went through the program and listened to Rod speak and really understand how important communication is, and how it really drives from, you know, not only the visual, but the physical and the verbal and all that stuff comes together, right? It's just like any other successful event or a successful successful task. It comes down to how well those steps were followed. And when you understand the value that's in what we just explained, and you really work on that, and you work on it and you work on it like your life depends on it, because it does. Your communication skills are one of the most valued things that we have to continue to practice on a regular basis. We will never be masters, right? We will always be students if we allow ourselves to be that and critique how well we communicate, just like we do here with you today, right? We value you being here, just like Keith asked you to be part of the conversation by making those comments, because we value those comments, right? And so as we go through problem solving and teamwork, right, you feel included because we're talking about something that we all value and we all find significant, right? And we always know that eventually we'll come up with a strategy, a tool, something that you can follow to crush the rest of your day, and you will always have great results. And that's really something that we practice on a regular basis. And yeah, we do have hiccups. We get caught into inception and celebration and excitement, and all that stuff, which we quickly go to results. And we'll say, oh my goodness, you know, I met my best friend, or you just met someone for the first time. You're like, this is going to be my wife, and we're going to have 8 kids, and we're going to have an amazing house in the hills, and we're going to have all these wonderful things. And the person's looking at you like, no. So it goes the same way across the board. And, you know, one of the things, Keith, that I want to share real quick is when you have children, it becomes very profound. especially the need and want in the hierarchy, with the communication, because if I don't feel certain as a parent, knowing that I'm leading my child in the right direction, they will feel that uncertainty, right? It will create a fear in their mind. And as I help them to realize how valuable they are, right, it's going to help them to listen more, right, so that we can work together to strategize how they can grow as individuals and we can grow as a family, and we'll always have the greatest results. And that's how it's broken down.
Aaron, I love it. And so for an example, we can show them both ways that to use the communication hierarchy to their advantage and leverage it, and then what it looks like when you don't use it to your advantage and leverage it, just like you spoke about. So, I mean, watch the difference between two conversations that Aaron and I could have as we role play, right? So I know a little bit about Aaron, right? And I meet him and I say, you know what, Aaron, I love the fact that we're on this call right now. You're an extremely powerful individual. And I've looked up to you. I love your message. I listen to your videos every morning. I don't think there's anything in this world that if you set your mind to that you couldn't make happen. You have such a presence and value to your environment, and I honor that, and I really appreciate it. And and I wanted to make sure that I gave you gratitude for that, because I'm not sure you get to hear that quite often, but I wanted to make sure that I let you know that I value not only the conversation we're having today, but I value your relationship. I truly mean that. And what I'm looking forward to most is the ability for me to learn from you, for me to be a student in your presence and just feel even a 10% of the energy that you put out in order to make my day better. And what I could see us doing in the future is creating a platform for not only ourselves, but for others to speak with extreme freedom, to think with extreme freedom, to feel with extreme freedom, and really, really be a timeout portion of their day where they can recoup, recover, and remind themselves of who they were meant to be in that specific day. What are the gifts they've been given that they're not quite maximizing in the moment? I can definitely see us doing that in the future. And there's so many platforms out there that we can talk about in order to do it. And because we're going to show up that way, there is no force that will be able to stop us. And the impact we're going to have is going to be felt globally. We're not even talking local right now. Do you feel like we made a connection there, Aaron? Did you feel the goosebumps?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. It was clear. It was intentional, and I felt that, you know what, we're going to make a great team.
And because what we have to remember is everyone is tuned in to this radio station, WIIFM, right? What's in it for me? The second you start talking about what's in it for you, and if you do it too early, well, then the radio station got turned. They're like, come on, I'm on this station. I don't even hear you. You just seeked and you went off to another station. I'm stuck here in WIIFM, right? Because I wanted to hear more about how I'm significant. I wanted to hear, that felt good. Give me more, give me more. It's like a drug, right? Significance can be a drug, especially if you only get it from outside sources. And if we can work on being better at giving it to ourselves, finding significance within, we're healthier. Now, if I was, because of who I know Aaron is, and I don't initially show vulnerability and gratitude, and I simply say, Aaron, I've been noticing the impact you're having on social media. It's amazing the amount of followers you have. I got like 10, and you have 12,000, almost 15,000 on LinkedIn. That's crazy, man. The impact you're making is phenomenal. And I can't wait to one day be where you are. And you must, the messages that you share are so incredible. They're absolutely incredible. I have an idea. Let's team up, and you can help me get all my followers all the way up to 15,000 like yours. And I'm gonna kind of sit back. I'm gonna be there and tell you who I want to follow me, but I'm gonna kind of sit back. And this is gonna be something that you're so good at it. You can do it, man. You can make so much money for us. It's gonna be crazy. You're sitting closer or further away from that conversation?
Yeah, further.
We've done this so much, it's become a thread. This has become something we're masterful at. We do this every single day if we're doing it properly in every single conversation, not with an agenda, which is where we used to do it from. We do this with pure intent because we understand how the body works and how the brain works and how emotion creates decision. And so it's something that when things are going right, we know we're hitting it. We're hitting every single one. When they're off, man, the results, I'll tell you right now, and it happens at least once a day, we're like, oh, I totally skipped significance. Oh,
right, yeah.
Totally I need to call them and I need to fix this, right? Or I need to fix me and then fix them.
So Keith, I do get this question sometimes from people that really want to know how to do this. And they're practicing it and they're communicating. However, the person they're talking to, they're very shy. They're not accustomed to hearing, confidence coming from them, right? Or someone giving them some type of significance or any type of compliments, right? They shy away from it. And so when that happens, Keith, what do you recommend for someone who is really ready to communicate in a way that comes from leadership and developing great relationships? How do you speak to someone who doesn't have a lot of confidence and kind of shies away from a compliment?
So what I find most often is that when people lack confidence, or it's not even confidence, it really starts with belief. I know that's at the center of everything we do, right? Yep. So if they're having trouble believing that they're perfect.
So let me rephrase that. They don't believe what you're saying to be true, right? You see them, you value them, you follow them, and you've learned a lot from them. And then you approach them and say those great things that are so true that you see and you believe. However, they don't believe it. So they just think that you're just blowing smoke to ask for something.
Then you haven't spent enough time in the area that directly precedes the moment you're stuck in. So the thing we see most often skipped or not spent enough time on is honest, intentful certainty, and then significance right after it. And you may spend weeks in that area until you finally get to a point where you can start talking team. It may not happen in one conversation. The best of the best only get it in probably 50% of our conversations. We can go right to the top. That person was ready. That's what that means. They're having trouble. They're experiencing authenticity in their personal relationships in certain areas. Everyone is. And if you identify where those roadblocks are, what are you jumping to? Where are they? So they're with you, right? You said hi, they said hi, you smiled, they smiled, right? You gave them a dap or you hugged them. They're there, right? Or they're open to having a conversation. You're having this conversation. Now, all of a sudden, you've left them. They didn't weren't with you. You're like, whoa. Don't keep going. It's okay to back up. And something was either distracting them or they are literally having trouble in one of those areas that you're going too fast through. And so what happens in the process is you lose them. You've now tuned to another station. You were on WIIFM. You were there with them. You were broadcasting loud and clear. And all of a sudden you've lost them. Go back and reestablish certainty, reestablish significance. And then if you're feeling them, go to team. If you go to team and they don't come with you, go back. And maybe it's another conversation. Maybe it's because what's happening is you're not spending enough time in that place, and they're obviously having trouble either in the relationship that you've established or in their relationships in the past. So they're going to be closed off. So identify where else that's coming up for them. Where else? So in your head, the steps. You're saying, what do you do in as a profession or as a person? Where do you find yourself most often working with others? And do you work well with others? If they're not coming with you, if they're not making the jump from significance to team, You're only when you hit roadblocks. What we all will remind ourselves to do better is ask better questions. And most roadblocks are hit when we stop asking questions because we just kept talking. Ask a question, get an answer. Ask a question, get an answer. It's a seesaw.
So one of the things that comes to mind as you're speaking about this, Keith, is something that we definitely experience, and we've been able to target that, is asking those questions. And so when someone's like, you know, and you give them a compliment, and they go, you know what, no problem. And that's when you have to stop. That's when you have to stop.
Right there.
Because they don't believe what you just said to be true.
Yep.
100%. They're not a 10 out of 10 on what you just said, even though you may see it as a 10 out of 10. They didn't feel it. And so you should stop. Instead of being like, no, seriously. No, ask them. Say, well, why do you feel that what I said isn't true? Do you not feel that that's true? And what you'll find is most people, they'll skip right over that. Right? Yep. And they'll just say, you know, that's your problem. You don't figure it out, but I value you. and you know what? That never got into them. And see, that's where we have to be better at identifying the shortcomings of others and the shortcomings and the limiting beliefs that they have in themselves. See, that's where success happens, right? But relationships is the key builder of success in life. Because as long as you have a relationship with someone, right, who has been through something that you've been through, you're not going to have something to reference. And if you can't get over that hump, you have nobody to ask, you know, what do you think? Help me out, right? So that's how the world works. And so the most successful people have found this tool, and they're very intentional on making sure that if they give a compliment, that the person actually receives it. And if they're not receiving it, then that's where you need to understand we have to stop at that moment, and we have to build that person, right? Help that person to build that confidence in that compliment. And what you'll find is as you help someone to realize that they are special, magical things happen. We become more creative. We become more imaginative. We become, you know, less limited. Right? We become out of the box, and we're really excited about being who we are. And so when you can help someone do that, the trust is built, the certainty is built, and now you both can move on to really conquer what you've been meant to conquer together. Because everybody that comes in contact with each other, if it's pure and it's true, it's meant for a reason, and we should never ignore that. And sometimes it's just to help each other build these beliefs about each other. And it's not about blowing smoke up people's butts. It's not about, you know, flattering people. It's so much more than that when you come from a place that you want to help people move forward in their life. And so when you give a compliment and you know that it's true, right? It's not fancy. It's not sexy, right? It's real. And we do that right, and the people receive it, you'll have more relationships, you'll have more fun in life, you'll have the joy of really being around some amazing individuals because they make you feel amazing as well. And we just keep moving and moving and moving and moving, and it just becomes very special. And it's helped me to become a better parent, right? Because I listen more with my kids, and as I hear my son singing in the background, I know he's happy. He's happy because he's doing, right? His needs and his wants are met, and they're both equal, and he's on fire with it. Right? When a child gets frustrated, what I'm learning as a parent, when a child gets frustrated, his needs and wants aren't on the same playing field, and they're battling between two emotions. And here is a parent that has his needs and his wants, or her needs and their wants, and they're forcing that upon someone who is confused and frustrated. And now you become, just out of control. And so we have to listen to that, especially when we're a parent. We go home tonight, take those thoughts and take this talk into consideration and comment back here. Let us know how this shows up in your life, because it's equally important that we share as much as we hear from you guys so that we can continue to learn, because that's why we do this. We grow with each other, and we know that growing together in one team is really the way to go.
Yeah, Aaron, and thank you for sharing that, because I had a conversation earlier today with Paxton about it. When we meet people, the most pure time in our lives really was when we were a child, before our environment had such an extreme impact on us. Our thoughts were pure, our actions were pure. We were very inquisitive. And when we can go back to that way of thinking, even if your childhood wasn't ideal, trust me, I know a lot of people don't want to go back to their childhood. But go back to the things that you remember, the time that you remember it being the most pure, and take somebody back there. Reignite that childlike mind. All of the things that we were doing then was in order to grow. And when we are growing, that's so fulfilling, because we know that whatever we went through and felt yesterday, we're growing beyond that. Even the good things, right? Even the good things, but especially the bad. And Elizabeth brings up a good point that it is about sincerity. But here's the thing, right? In intent. And so what I would remind everybody is sincerity is also has a different meaning and definition to a lot of people. So instead of when we feel something is not really sincere or truthful or may have an agenda, ask.
Yeah.
And
what do you mean
if you
by
feel
that?
somebody has an agenda, just ask them. Say, hey, what's the point of our conversation, or why did you say that? Ask a question, get an answer. Instead of getting in here, ask a question, get an answer, and lock it in here.
That's huge.
Because the second we go in here, that's where the devil lives. And that's where the cuckoo's nest is, literally. And we start to own our thoughts, and we know that they're not ours. Tony Robbins taught us. Those are everyone's thoughts. Stop being so selfish, right? That's the mind. He said, it's not, when those thoughts come in, say, oh, that's just the mind. It's the mind, not this mind. It's what you feel in here and what you feel in here.
That's
it's
right.
everybody. Those are theirs. Stop owning them. They're not yours. Don't be so selfish, right? That feeling of pain and anger, that's selfish. Stop it, right? So Elizabeth brings up a great point. And if you feel somebody is out of sincerity, right, truly out of sincerity, they're saying this, awesome, receive it. But if the second they go out of alignment with what you believe, just ask them. And sometimes that might just end a conversation. You call them out, right? Or that might make them realize, wow, that did sound like I had an agenda. I completely apologize. This is really what I was doing, and I'm nervous. You make me nervous. I really, I'm not used to talking like this. I'm not used to being in front of such an amazing, for Elizabeth, it could be, hey, look, you're beautiful, and you are, from the inside out, I see that you're just glowing. And I'm not used to speaking in front. What do I do with my hands, right? I don't know what to do with my hands. Right. Funny. I mean, but break it with laughter. It's when you have a very strong energy and people can sense that, they might have this stutter, or they might get confused or distracted, right? And so just understand that that's okay. Like, just say, hey, you know what? It seems like you're struggling here to get a message across. What is your intention? What are you looking for? Where have you been? Who are you? Where are you going? And why are you here? Ask them the questions. How many people use those questions? And if you're not if you feel like you're just up against somebody, literally ask them to end the conversation, or to either begin one, is just say, look, what if you didn't know what you thought you knew? When would you want to know? And if they say never, say awesome. This conversation isn't working. I could be stuck on significance.
So Keith, as I'm thinking about this, right, and we have this a lot, right? Being professional network marketers, right, and being someone who has an amazing product, service, team, community, culture, vision. We have all those things. And so a lot of times when we're talking to someone, they can feel, right, that there is an agenda. Yeah. And you know what you do? You say, yes, there is. And you speak with certainty. And you share the importance of why you're sharing it with them.
Reestablish.
You see what I'm saying? So you don't have to shy away of it. So if you're that person that's wanting to be a better communicator and not on the receiving end, right, then you know what? Come with the intention, right? Yeah. And work that into the significance. See, when I am working on, building my community, building my team, right? When I'm working on that, I let that be known. I say, hey, listen, I am building a global business, and I'm looking for leaders like you. Matter of fact, I'm very impressed on the resume that you've built over the last few years in ... And I'm actually speaking to you because I am open to listening what you see in these few values, because these are the things I'm working on. And see what I've done. I've postured myself with certainty. I've set the intention. I've shared with them why I'm speaking with them, so now they know why it's significant we have a conversation, and now I can get into the strategy so that we can find if we can go get results. And so if you're wanting to be a better communicator, keep the main thing the main thing. We've been speaking that for years, right? So you don't have to be you don't have to be the bait and wanting to lead people into something and then hook them after. You don't have to do that. Just be intentional on why you're speaking to them, all right? Send it with such certainty that they go, well, this person seriously believes in what they believe in, and they're really, really intentional about why they're speaking to me. And then when I'm asking myself, well, why are you talking to me? You quickly went into why. So now that's clear, right? So now the sincerity is there, the genuineness is there, and now the message can be displayed. And we have to be okay with whether or not they're interested or not. We have to, because that's not our intentions. Our intentions is that they know what we're doing. We sought them out, right, to have a conversation. It could be as simple as, meeting a mate, right? You're going to go up to someone and say, you know what, I find you to be one of the most beautiful people in this room. And if I had to go back and date again, I would crush it.
Mojo be flowing.
You know what I'm saying? I say that because the communication hierarchy, right, is a template. It's a template for sharing messages. It's a template for sharing a vision. It's a template for providing who you are to someone else so that they can receive it and also share with you their value. Done deal. We just gave you the template. We practice it every day. And as you're sharing your thoughts, your feelings, and I love what Kara said, she thinks women have often been taught in society to reflect compliments. And the reason why is because maybe the person that taught that had a story. And so if someone says, no, I don't, so it sounds like you have a story. You want to talk about that?
Yes.
And so there's so much you can share, Keith. And, I'm excited about this topic because honestly, doing what we do and being master connectors, and what I mean by that is we're connecting the world one person at a time. That's what we're doing. Some people want to be connected, some people don't. That's okay. We still have a piece that fits them. And when the time comes, we'll come around with that piece and say, hey, you want to lock in? No? Okay, we'll be back. Right? So master connectors is just a Lego master, right? A master builder, right? And someone that's willing to go out and find and connect the dots in the process of doing what they love. That's what we do for a living. And we want to encourage everybody to do that, right? Be a master connector. Follow your passion and connect the pieces so that you can continue to do more of that more often, right? Until you die empty. That's the key.
I love it. And it starts with you. And so remember to invest in yourself. It's Transformation Tuesday.
People.
This is the longest, most active In the Tank broadcast yet. And it was our intention to provide maximum value, not to get off this line in 30 minutes. And so I applaud all of you for coming to the table today. And I look forward to reading comments as they come in and helping people solve problems and connecting them with other people. I love that. I live for it. Aaron does too. And to the hundreds and thousands of people that are going to view this message all over the world, thank you for tuning in. And remember, this is a live broadcast. The feed stays live. Like and share it. If it's something that's heavy on your heart, please leave a comment. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Happens to be on my 15th wedding anniversary. Man, 15 years of being married. Oh man, yeah. 15 years in a bottle, gives you an awful crick in the neck. Oh, or 15 years in a lamp. I screwed it up. I don't know. It's from Aladdin. Sorry. I'm leaving you with that message today. We'll see you tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, same place in the tank, live with Aaron Harrison and Keith Deo.